Hi everyone, my name is Jade and I'm with the Office of Admissions here at the University of North Florida. And today we're going to talk a little bit about the STARS, or the Self-Reported Transcript and Academic Record System. This is essentially a platform where we prefer to receive your high school transcripts if you're applying as a high school freshman. So today we're going to talk a little bit about what the STARS is, how to input your coursework into it, but also what the application process to UNF looks like in general. So with all that said, we can go ahead and get started. So the first step in submitting your STARS to us really is submitting an application to us first. So you want to make sure that you have either submitted an application through the Common App or our website. And then once that application is submitted, after about an hour or so, or 24 to 48 hours, depending on which platform you've applied on, you will then have access to your application checklist, which is on the screen here. Your application checklist is essentially your home base for the materials and the status attached to your application. So you can view the status of your application, departments that you can contact and their contact information, as well as your student ID number on the home tab here. That's your kind of starting tab when you log into your applicant portal. But in order to access the STARS and the materials we need from you, you'll want to navigate to the middle tab, the checklist tab. And that is your application checklist, where it essentially lists all the materials we need from you and whether we have them, which will show as a green check mark, or if we don't have them yet, which is a red X. And if it is a green check mark, that means we have received it in our systems. A red X means even if it's on its way, we have not received it in our systems yet. So this lets you know exactly where your application stands and what the status is and what we need from you. And you will see in your application checklist that the Self-Reported Transcript and Academic Record System, or again, the STARS, is listed in your materials. So this is a link that will take you to the STARS page. However, in order to link your application to UNF, it's very important that you first log into your applicant portal here. If you create an account on the STARS webpage and you go ahead, fill out your coursework and submit it to UNF, but if you navigated to the STARS on its own webpage and did not click this link here in your applicant checklist, there's probably a good chance that your STARS won't link to your application. So in order to properly link your STARS to your UNF application, your very first step should be to log into your applicant portal, navigate to the checklist tab, and then click on this Self-Reported Transcript and Academic Record System link here. So this will link you to the STARS login page. So it's very important that your first step in submitting the STARS is logging into your portal, going to the checklist, and clicking this link here. And you'll want to make sure that anytime you go back into the STARS and edit it or submit it, that you are navigating to it through our link in the applicant portal. So once you do that, this is what you will see. You will see the login page for the STARS. So you want to make sure that you go ahead and create an account or log into the account that you've already created, and you can simply enter your personal email address. We always recommend using a personal email address that you essentially view the most frequently. You don't want to use any high school email addresses because those eventually expire. So you'll want to create an account or log in using your email address and password. If you are creating an account, of course, it's going to ask information such as your first name, your last name, and the email address you want on file. Again, we recommend, and the STARS itself recommends, using a personal email address. Then you're going to want to enter additional information such as the kind of student you are applying as. Again, first-time in college students can apply and submit their high school transcripts using the STARS, so you'll want to indicate that you are an undergraduate, freshman, or first-year applicant, and you'll want to input your high school graduation year, and then, of course, create an appropriate password according to the requirements they have listed. Then again, additional information such as inputting your date of birth, country, your address, your most up-to-date or current address as well. And then once you've created your STARS account, you can then formally log in using the email and password that you created with your account. It will then once again prompt you to select your student type. And if you're applying as a first-time college student, you'll want to select the undergraduate freshman or first-year applicant option. Then your next step is you want to ensure the University of North Florida is selected. If you have navigated to the stars through the link in your applicant portal, like we talked about earlier, then you should see the UNF logo listed in the top corner of your stars. However, again, you definitely want to make sure and double check that's there. You can go ahead here and also add UNF through add a college or university. And you can go ahead and search for UNF by starting to type it in, and then it should pop right up and you can select UNF and it will populate as your stars being sent to UNF. You can select and add multiple colleges and universities. However, just be mindful. You want to make sure you are logging into the stars through the link in your applicant portal. That will make sure it gets sent to UNF specifically. And then once you select your college, you can hit the begin button. And then you can enter your school information. So you can see it lists middle school, college courses here. However, you just need to be concerned with entering in your high school information. There is specific information within the stars. It gives you a lot of prompts and it lists a lot of frequently asked questions throughout the stars process. So feel free to make sure you are reading those and taking note of any suggestions they give. For example, under the middle school courses, you do not want to be entering in any middle school courses. If you've taken any high school credit courses in middle school, you'll just enter that within your 9th grade high school year. So again, if you took any high school classes in middle school that were high school credit, just enter that in high school. You don't need to enter middle school courses, and you don't need to enter college coursework where it's listed here. If you are taking dual enrollment, AP, IB, you list that in your high school courses under your high school, and then you can indicate what kind of college credit earning mechanism it was. But first, of course, you want to confirm your graduation month and year, and then you can click Enter School and select the country or state, and then search for your high school in the database. So you should be able to type in the school name, or if you know your school's CEEB code or CEEB code, the CEEB code is the high school's essentially identification number. So each school has a specific and individual code that is unique to that school to identify it. So if you know your school's CEEB code, that's actually a pretty handy use of information to know during the college application process, because it can easily and quickly identify your high school. But you can either enter in the code or start typing in your high school and it should pop up. And you can also indicate if you're looking for colleges or high schools, but again, you should really only be looking to enter in your high school information here. And you will also need to include any and all high schools that you haven't attended, especially, of course, the one you plan to graduate from. But if you've attended multiple high schools, you'll want to add those in. So this is what it will look like if you are searching for your school and have found your school. You can see the CEEB code as well as the address to just confirm you've got the right school. Some high schools have similar names or identical names. And you can enter in how your high school essentially assigns grades and the grading scale. So you can indicate if they assign grades based on letter grades, A, B, C's, number grades, if, you know, a 94 equals an A, so on and so forth. Letter and number grades, so a combination of both, or decimal grades. So the great thing about the stars is you can get really specific with it depending on how your school and your coursework operates. And then, of course, you'll want to put the dates of attendance. So again, you can really just put the month and the year that you started high school, and then the month and the year that you plan to graduate high school as well. Then, of course, you will want to enter in your GPA and class rank. So you do have the option to enter in both your weighted and unweighted GPA. However, you can also indicate if your school does not report either of these. You can check those boxes accordingly. If you have access to your class rank, you can also enter that information here as well, or you can indicate that your school does not provide rank information, or if you do not know. All right, so now we get to the part of the stars where you will enter in your coursework. So using the drop-down menu, you can choose whether you would like to enter your coursework by year or subject. So you will see you have 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade. So it's very important when you start entering in your coursework. For the stars, you will need to enter in all of your 9th grade coursework, meaning your class and the grade, all of your 10th grade classes and grades, all of your 11th grade classes and grades, and then your in-progress 12th grade coursework. So even if you are currently in 12th grade and have not graduated or completed those courses yet, which is most students, you will mark those as in progress. So you can just put in, again, your current high school schedule for 12th grade and mark those courses as in progress, but your 9th, 10th, and 11th grade courses should be finalized and have a final grade attached to them. So you want to double check that you've entered in all the appropriate coursework for 9th through 12th, but that especially 9th through 11th grades have completed grades and final grades attached to each class. And you can start entering that coursework by using the Quick Start Course Entry option. And you can place a checkbox next to each course you've taken at your school. You want to enter when you took the course, the level, length, and grade for those courses as well. So that looks like this here. When you begin to enter your courses, say you've clicked 9th grade, you can indicate the subject area, what the class was titled, if it had a specific name other than English. If it was a certain kind of English class that had a different name, you can enter that in here. You also want to enter the course level. So that is where you can enter if it was honors, AP, dual enrollment, or just a standard course, and the course length, whether it was a full year or a semester. And you want to enter your grades as well. So this is set up in the semester option. So let's say you took a course and it was only one semester, you'll just fill in what that final grade was for the first semester. But if it was taken, you know, online or during the summer, for example, you can indicate all of that information there as well. Or if it was a repeat or a retake of a previous course that you've taken before. So for example, that's what that will look like here. If you're entering in an English course, let's say it was a general English 1 course and it was just a standard course. It wasn't honors, it wasn't dual enrollment, it was just standard, and it was a full year. You'll enter in the final grade. It might ask for credits or units. If it is a full year, it is usually just 1 credit. If it's a semester, it's usually half a credit. And the other great thing about the stars is there are little question marks by a lot of the subjects and instructions here. Those include a lot of really great frequently asked questions. So if you're not sure specifically what it's asking from you here, you can usually, your first step is to hover over those question marks and it might be able to answer your question or tell you a little more about what the stars is actually needing you to input here. So again, once you enter in a course, you'll see it then listed up above here as you've entered it. So you can keep track of the courses that you have entered, and you can also move them around, anything like that, or remove them if you've made a mistake. The great thing about the stars is that you can go in and edit it at any time. So with UNF in particular, let's say you've made a mistake on a grade. If you catch it pretty quickly, you can just go into the stars. If you're still under review, you can go into the stars and edit the course grade. Or if you have already received a decision from UNF but want to continue to update us on your grades as the first semester of senior year finishes, for example, again, you can go back into the stars and just edit and update it as needed. So that's the great thing, is that you can always go in and edit the information even after you've linked it. And again, this is an example of an honors course, so a course that has maybe a different level than standard. Let's say it's a science biology course, but it was an honors level. Again, you can indicate that here as well. And that's what it might look like. This is an example of dual enrollment. So again, if you are a dual enrollment student, even if you are earning your AA in high school, this is how you will enter your dual enrollment courses, because they are technically taken within your high school, even if they are through another institution. So you'll enter the area, the course, but also the course level, and you'll mark it as dual enrollment. It will then prompt you and ask, where did you take the dual enrollment course? And same thing, you can search for the appropriate institution where you took that dual enrollment course, whether you took it at your high school or you physically went to that institution's campus and took that course. If it is dual enrollment, regardless, it is taken through an institution, and you will mark that institution here, and you can search that institution and it will come up like this. And usually College courses are a semester, so you can indicate the semester length here, if so, and the credits. So usually, again, semesters are half credits, so you can indicate that. So again, this is just an example of what your courses should start to look like within the stars per year. And again, these should be completed with all of your 9th through 11th grade coursework and all of your in-progress 12th grade coursework as well. And you want to just go until you've got all of that information in. And when you're done, you'll want to click the Back to Summary button to return to the main screen. And if you've taken any courses you're unsure how to enter, you want to make sure you are also keeping in contact with your high school counselor. So if there is anything at any point throughout the STARS process that you are unsure about, and you have already checked all of the question marks and frequently asked questions, you should be going and contacting your high school guidance counselor in order to receive answers and get help on filling out the stars. Since they have access to a transcript, they should be able to help you fill out the stars if you have any questions. So again, if you're having any trouble or questions, reach out to your high school guidance counselor. They should be able to help you there. You can also indicate and enter your exams or test scores in the stars. For UNF, we will need your test scores submitted separately. So in your applicant checklist, there will also be a requirement to upload your test scores. Your test scores, you can self-report straight through the portal or upload a PDF. Those are the two fastest ways to send us your test scores. Then you'll want to send in the official versions just at some point after you graduate high school. But you can also enter it through the stars. However, you want to make sure for UNF, the way that we will accept your test scores is through your checklist, either uploaded as a PDF, self-reported through the checklist, or again, sent in formally from the testing website. If it is sent in online through the testing website, that can just take a few weeks. Whereas if you upload or self-report your test scores, those can only take 24 to 48 hours for us to receive. But you can also enter them here. Just be sure to also update them or upload them through the portal too, not just through the stars. So that is what your test scores will look like if you're entering in multiple. They'll list them all here and ask for the exam or test date, what the exam and test name was, and the score received as well. And then, of course, you always want to click Save in order to continue or come back to it later. And you do have an option to upload documents to the stars as well. Again, for UNF, we are really only looking at your stars for your high school coursework. So you want to make sure that portion that we just reviewed is really intact, finalized, and completed. But for other institutions, they might accept documents or additional information uploaded through the stars. So you can also upload those here, whether that's resumes, letters of recommendation, or essays. UNF doesn't need any of those things to take into account for admissions consideration, but you do have the option. And you'll just select the document type from the drop-down menu and upload that attachment for each document that you are uploading. And you can click Complete Upload after each file in order to save them to your account. And another great thing about the stars is that it always updates you if something's wrong or if you've forgotten a section and need to go back to it. So this is an example. You'll have a big message here with an exclamation point letting you know that you need to go back and fill in something that was required. So for example, here, there was no senior coursework entered, so you'll need to go back and fill that in. And you'll just, after making sure you have everything in, review your progress and review that all the coursework is in there, and you'll want to submit the stars or submit the coursework. So you will click Review or Submit button at the bottom of the page, and you'll be asked to review all the information you entered, and it will let you know if you've forgotten a section. So again, this is what it will look like when you're going to review and submit your coursework. And you want to make sure, once again, that you have included your senior year coursework marked as in progress. You want to make sure you have entered all courses, the course level, length, and grades exactly as they appear on your transcript. So it's also really handy, of course, that you will need to have a high school transcript on hand or access digitally in order to enter in your coursework. So that is something before you sit down to do the stars, you'll want to make sure you get in contact with your school or high school counselor about, that you have a copy of your high school transcript with your up-to-date coursework. And you will want to enter that coursework exactly as it appears on your transcript in the stars. So you do not want to list something as an honors course unless it truly was an honors course on your transcript. And you want to make sure that you did not average, recalculate, or add any additional weight to your grades, and ensure, again, that everything is accurate. And if you are unsure, again, reach out to your high school or high school guidance counselor for clarity before submitting. Then the final steps of the stars, you want to make sure you enter in your electronic signature, and it will prompt you to do so by having you once again input your stars email and password, and that will have you electronically sign to indicate that the academic record is complete and accurate. So once you have done that and electronically signed, you'll hit the submit button. This might take 24 to 48 hours for it to show up as received in your applicant portal. However, after submitting, you can go ahead and log into stars from the UNF application to confirm that your application and your stars application have linked together. Again, it can take up to 24 hours. You can always log into your applicant portal and check whether it has been received or not, but it should take only about up to 24 hours before you see that your stars is linked and received. If after 24 hours you have not seen an update, go ahead and email our UNF Office of Admissions. Our email is listed here, just letting us know, and we can always go ahead and take a look as well. All right, so that was about our self-reported transcript and academic record system and how to enter in your grades and coursework. Next, we'll talk about the application process to UNF as a whole. So if you are applying to UNF as a first time in college or freshman applicant, there are only 4 things we need from you, one of which we just reviewed. So first, of course, we'll need an online application, whether it's through our UNF website or the Common App. If you apply through the Common App, just make sure that it does take us 24 to 48 hours to receive your application information before you are able to receive the email that lets you access your applicant portal. However, if you do apply on our UNF website, you have access to your applicant portal pretty immediately, and it should load your checklist items within an hour or a few hours, but it should load them in that day. So it is usually quicker and a lot more simple to apply on our website. But just make sure if you're applying on the Common App that you are reading your emails carefully to look out for that login information to access your applicant portal. So we'll need an online application and a $30 fee or fee waiver. You can chat with your guidance counselor if you are eligible for a fee waiver. However, you are usually eligible if you have access to free or reduced lunch, you are part of a TRIO program in high school, or you have received a testing waiver. So application fee waivers typically come from one of those student accounts associated with the eligibility requirements I just mentioned. They do not typically come from UNF or are requested from UNF. They'll be, again, attached to your student accounts, whether it's in College Board, if you've received a testing waiver for the SAT, or anything like that. And in order to navigate to those waivers, just reach out to your guidance counselor. Then again, we'll need your high school transcript submitted to us in the form of the stars. And again, you want to make sure you are logging into your applicant portal, going to the checklist tab and clicking on the stars link there in order to properly link your stars. Then we'll need one test score on file, at least one, whether it's the SAT, ACT, or CLT. We need at least one in order to consider you for admission. However, if you have multiple, if you've taken the SAT more than once, or you've taken the SAT and ACT, submit to us all test scores that you have, because we will always keep the highest score on file or super score. So we always consider you for admission with the highest score possible. So make sure that you can send in every test score you have, whether you are self-reporting them in your portal or uploading a PDF of those score reports. And you want to note that our application opens up July 1st every year. So you can apply on our website as early as July 1st going into senior year, but also if you're applying through the Common App, that opens up August 1st. So speaking of timelines, again, our application opens up super early in the year, July 1st. So this is the July 1st going into senior year. You can submit an application as early as then. Just be mindful that the STARS is not open until August 1st as well. So if you are applying before August, you will have to upload a copy of your high school transcript to the portal as well, or send it in to us over email or mail. But August 1st is when the STARS opens up, and that's when you can submit your coursework through the STARS. However, we just need your high school transcript sent to us in one way. So if you have sent in a paper copy of your transcript, you don't also have to submit the STARS. If you've submitted the STARS, you don't also have to send in a paper copy. Again, we just need your high school transcripts in one of those formats, but the STARS is the simplest, the fastest, and the easiest for everyone. So again, that opens up August 1st. And every year, if you apply by November 1st, that is our priority application deadline. And for students who have a completed application on file with all 4 of those application materials received by us by November 1st, they get a decision a few weeks later, sometime mid-November. This is our timeline for our current round of seniors applying for the 2026 and 2027 terms. However, it is usually a very similar timeline every year. And we usually have the same priority application timeline with about 2 to 3 weeks after those students receiving their decisions mid-November. However, if you are waiting, then the latest that you can submit an application and your materials is in April. And throughout the year, we also usually have multiple priority decision releases. For example, this year, after our priority decision release November 19th, there will also be a decision release in December and again in January. After that point, any application submitted after that time will be considered on a rolling admissions basis of 4 to 6 weeks. But again, the latest you can submit applications is in April. And that is all for us today. If you have any questions about the information we just reviewed, please feel free to reach out to us in the Office of Admissions here at the University of North Florida. You can reach out to us over email, you can give us a call, and you can also keep up with any up-to-coming dates and events on our social media apps and web pages. So again, let us know if you have any questions. I hope this was helpful, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you.